things. Joining me right now is former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He worked in February 2020, helping President Trump negotiate a conditional peace deal with the Taliban to withdraw from Afghanistan. Mr. Secretary, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Give us your reaction in terms of the pullout.
Maria, thanks for having me on. Look, we were determined to get this right. There were two things that President Trump wanted to do. Everyone knows that President Trump wanted to get our young men and women back home. We began the march towards doing that, but we always knew that conditions had to be right to achieve that. We had to have the situation on the ground right to do that. This administration just willy-nilly whipped the military out of there, leaving civilians, equipment, all of those things behind. We drew down from 15,000 or just over that to about 2,500, and we had kept the order that had been there. Right, we didn't have this chaos. All the while, we took out 12,500 soldiers. When we got to that point, we went back. We looked at the conditions. We wanted to get those last numbers out, but we never found the conditions right to do so. And so we continued to pound the Taliban when they violated the agreement, right? When they moved on a checkpoint or moved in a place that they weren't permitted to, we used American power and made clear to the Taliban that there would be real consequences. What happened here, Maria, is you had a leader who was unprepared to do that. When the Taliban pushed on the Trump administration, we pushed back even harder and imposed real costs on them. When the Taliban pushed on the Biden administration, they withdrew to a commercial airport that in no way has the capacity to get our people out of there with the speed and alacrity that needs to happen to keep them safe. This is an incompetent method of getting our folks out. It presents real risk. I pray we get them all home, but I'm watching today, even now, they haven't yet organized in a way to push American power out in a way to make sure we can get Americans out of the country.
And things are getting dangerous and more severe by the minute. This morning, the Washington Post is reporting that those people going to the airport are getting beaten up, and there were 7 Afghan civilians killed outside the Kabul airport as Biden set to update on evacuations later today. Mr. Secretary, does Joe Biden understand what has taken place here? I mean, I don't even understand why you would close the Bagram Air Base before getting all of your civilians out.
Well, I must say, given what he's told America and what we can see happening on the ground and the massive disconnect between those two, it certainly doesn't appear that he understands, or perhaps less. He's just not that interested. He's more focused on spending $3.5 trillion or creating diversity inside of our military. It's impossible to explain how the President of the United States can go on TV and tell people that not only are people able to travel safely to the airport, when we can clearly see that that's not the case, but he told the world that our allies weren't concerned about what we were doing. And you need only go to the British Parliament or listen to Macron or Merkel. All of them are concerned that they no longer can trust America as a partner and ally. So there is a deep disconnection between what President Biden has told the American people and what they can all see with their own eyes to be true. This is dangerous. We're just a few months into this administration, and American leadership has already walked off the stage. Maria, we've talked about this before, but President Biden talks about that America is back. It looks like we're back. It looks like we're back to Barack Obama, America apologizing, American weakness, and our adversaries not fearing us and our friends not trusting us.
And we have to point out that many of the people on Biden's team, whether it be national security or in the State Department, were in fact in the Obama White House. How capable are his defense and foreign policy teams, in your view, including your successor, Tony Blinken? We know that there was a memo revealed this past week, indicating that Joe Biden was warned that this would happen this way, and he ignored the warnings.
Maria, there's no doubt it's the same team that was there for 8 years largely. They've all moved up 1 slot or 2 slots, but it's largely the same cast of characters with the same worldview. Right? This is a worldview that says America is the problem set. It's a worldview that says that these details, these important details, right? Closing Bagram, the major airflow hub for American forces and American equipment in and out of the country, and pulling out the military before the civilians got out, and not working with friends and partners to make sure this was coordinated. And most importantly, not validating that the conditions on the ground were sufficient to actually execute this stage of the withdrawal. Those are demonstrably geopolitical errors, tactical errors that this administration has made. They've not yet moved to fix them. I pray that we get this right. It's important not only for the people of Afghanistan and the Americans who are trapped there, But as important as Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and Chairman Kim stare at the United States today, they're watching this weakness. They're watching America destroy its alliances. And this presents enormous risk to the American people right here at home.
Exactly. And the mixed messages have been incredibly dangerous. Last week, President Biden told the Americans in Afghanistan to get to the airport so that the U.S. can get them home. And then this weekend, we were told, don't go to the airport. It's too dangerous. They are terrorists right outside the airport. The gates are locked. They're confiscating passports. I mean, what's going on? Should Americans go to the airport or not go to the airport?
Well, I must say, I don't have accurate situational knowledge of what's on the ground, although I've heard from some folks in the region. It certainly sounds like passage to that airport is very dangerous today. America needs to work to secure that, to reduce that risk. There are lots of ways to do that. How about this, Maria, for a starting point? Make very clear that you're not going to beg the Taliban. You're not going to implore. You're not going to plead. You're not going to pay the Taliban. If Americans are harmed as they move to the airport, you're going to go and crush them. You're going to put real costs on them. This is the model that the Trump administration had adopted. And each time we did that, we got a tactical response from the Taliban that respected the United States of America because they understood that there were things that they would not be permitted to do. Most importantly, harming Americans. Remember this, Maria, from the time we began our peace and reconciliation effort, our conversations, from the time we signed that deal in February 2020, not a single American was attacked by the Taliban in a serious way, and there wasn't a single American killed. That wasn't because the document, or we were going to go to court to enforce this document. It was because we demonstrated American resolve and power. And when you don't do that, this is the kind of thing, this chaos that you're seeing today in Afghanistan is precisely what ensues when America fails to lead.
So they've already broken whatever agreement was made in Doha. I'm talking about the Taliban. I mean, was this a coup?
You know, between the folks in Afghanistan, right? President Ghani was corrupt himself. The leaders in the other regions, we were talking to all of them. Remember, we didn't just sign an agreement with the Taliban. We had one with the Afghan government, too. We were talking to folks in the north and folks in the west. This country's been a mess for an awfully long time. Its elections have been incredibly fraught. This is a country that has had political uncertainty for an awfully long time. Our mission set was very clear, Maria. Our mission set was to make sure that we were able to get our young men and women home, and second, to make sure that we were never attacked from this place again. And we worked diligently to make sure that as we saw the conditions on the ground, that we withdrew in a way that provided maximal certainty that we would never be attacked from this place again. This chaos you're seeing today, Maria, I think this drastically increases the likelihood that someday some ungoverned space in Afghanistan will lead to an attack, maybe not on America, but on American interests somewhere in the world.